Hello, you guys. Hey, hello, everyone,
podcast.
and welcome to the
Something.
Case. Yeah, because she never waits till the record button is on. So it's always like, welcome to, and you didn't even say hello, so that's hilarious. I'm Jade, by the way.
And I want to know, wow, we remembered early.
We did high five social distance style, though, y'all, because you know.
Okay, sorry. I'm not gonna
out here. Okay, no dancing today, right?
Yeah, because we have an important guest.
I know, so we can't dance. Let's put on our professional. Hold on.
I didn't even put on a sweater, so I'm not putting on my professional.
Hold on, I have it though. I have my professional.
Okay, cool.
We wrote literary life guides.
Oh, please.
I can't do it. We wrote literary life guides with pop poetry. All right, so here's the top 4, y'all. And I thought divorce was bad with other life lessons. And I thought being grown up was easy.
I'm gonna destroy the set. Hold
Please
on.
stop destroying my set. She does it every time. Like I try to move things so she doesn't destroy my set, and she does it every time, y'all.
They're both audiobooks, by the way. They're also available on Amazon.com. Jade, continue the list.
I'm just upset right now. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so, and I thought I did my journey alone. And If Only I Were Me, only available on the new. And seriously, like,
Toto's in Kansas!
Toto is in Kansas. I'm excited. Okay, but that was totally random, y'all. And y'all know Jade has had way too much coffee today because she got up like 6 o'clock this morning
to get an interview done about us. That was
before
fun.
this.
Okay, so when you go to our website, www.andwethought.com, where you can find everything that you ladies are up to. And yes, I'm stealing Jade's script today, or her little things today. I'm stealing them. You can go check us out at the Ladies Tale podcast. And hey, we have a co-host today.
I know. Co-host, please talk. Please talk.
Please talk. Hi, I'm Tanya Todd. I'm an author and actress from Las Vegas, but we're not here for me. Let's talk about Wendy.
Oh yeah, we're here with our wonderful guest because we just drove on and on. So wonderful guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Wendy Calhoun. I am a writer and producer and content creator in Hollywood, California. This is my assistant, Toto. No, his name is Olaf. He sits at my feet during all the writers' meeting Zooms I have every day. He's really helpful. And then, just so you know, I'm married. I have 2 children. But my lovely husband makes me a gorgeous fruit plate that I have in the mornings.
Looks delicious.
I know, to go with my coffee as I start my day. So that is
amazing. I don't have questions. I have jealousy.
Right. Who's gonna make me my fruit plate? And I know the answer is gonna be the store. So you better go pick it up from the store.
So Wendy, how did you get started in writing? Because you well, first of all, can you tell us what you have written and or produced on? Because good God.
You're so neat.
Oh my God, you're funny. So, okay, let's see. I've done both unscripted and also scripted television. Pretty much my whole writing career has been in television. So some of the unscripted pieces I did were shows like Monster House and Hell's Kitchen. And then when I transitioned into scripted, I did shows that are all 1-hour dramas. A show called Reigns, a show called Life that starred Damian Lewis. I did Justified, I did Revenge, Nashville, Empire, Station 19, and right now I am consulting on Prodigal Son. So yeah, it's a
Is Life ever coming back? Because that's like one of my favorite shows. Sometimes I go to sleep thinking of lines from Life, and thank you for writing them.
Thank you.
It was a really fun show to work on, and there's some powerhouses that came out of that writer's room for sure. I mean, Scott Gimple was a story editor along with me on that show, and he's now in charge of the entire Walking Dead universe. But yeah, I don't know if it's gonna come back. It should. It was such a great show, and Damien's amazing. Really fun to work with.
It's such a good show. It's like one of those shows that are never coming back.
Yeah, because like
because it was just like
some shows are just so great. You're like, well, I guess it's never coming back. Hopefully, maybe in 20 years when people figure out how great this show was. But then we'll boot it and we can watch it again.
So I'm gonna hand you off to our serious person, Miss Tanya Todd, because I mean, with all those credentials behind you, we don't want to mess it up, Tanya.
Well, first, I would like to know about your journey. Will you tell us how you got started in the industry and how you wound up where you are now?
Sure. My journey actually started in high school. I was really into improv and really into writing sketches, and I took my first playwriting class when I was a sophomore. I went to a performing arts high school in Dallas, the Booker T. Washington School. And that was it. I mean, the first play got produced and I got to see people acting my words and I was hooked. So I started just writing more and more plays. Eventually got actually a full ride scholarship to NYU. And at NYU, the first year I was in Playwrights Horizons, which is where I was able to do dramaturgy and directing and performing. But after about a year into that, I really decided that I wanted to be more like Spike Lee. And so I switched into the film department, the undergrad film and television, where they basically hand you a camera and say, go make movies. So I just got thrown into that fire and had a blast. I'm proud that I ended up co-directing and co-writing my senior thesis, which won a Mobile Oil grant that helped me finish it, and also was recognized as the best experimental film of that year. So I had some West Coast screenings of that, and that was really fun. But the truth is, the way I was able to break into Hollywood was crazy, because I didn't know anybody. I'm from Dallas, Texas. Like I said, my mom's an educator. My dad was an engineer for Texas Instruments forever. And so we didn't have any Hollywood connections. I had one uncle who was, Olaf, the mail's here. I had one uncle who was a pastor in Inglewood for a while, but he'd passed away by the time I finished college. So I got the NYU alumni list. I had it in my head that I wanted to get into development, because at least then I had access to scripts and stuff. But at the time I was really thinking I would become maybe a network executive or run a broadcast network. I don't know why I had that dream, but I did at first. And anyways, I just got that alumni directory and I cold called everybody in development in LA, and only one person took my call. And that one person said, if you get to LA from New York, I'll meet with you. And based on that, just that, I packed everything up and came across the country. And sure enough, he kept his word and he met with me. He introduced me to a couple of other people that he knew, other female executives, and within weeks, they called me and said, hey, there's a job opening at an agency. You should be an agent's assistant, because there you're going to get a real lay of the land of Hollywood. Mm-hmm. So I was game, I'm like, oh, great, I'll write in the mornings and I'll do my work at the agency. And I'm really thankful that I did that, because I had no desire to be an agent, but I got to know about deals. I mean, there are people at that agency who now run ICM, who, now, running different divisions of different major levels all over Hollywood. And it's all those first connections as a literary agent's assistant. So, yeah.
Oh, can I be in your entourage?
It's just really me and Olaf. It's a pretty small group.
We're just trying to get in there because we want a food plate. Like, that's literally what once I saw the food plate, I was like, I have to know her, because that food plate, though, I need it in my I need that food plate.
So cute, too. How he lines it all up so cute.
Yeah, I know. It's wonderful. It's like something you get at the store. I'm telling you. So how important are connections and being willing to go out and connect with people? Because I know as writers, we tend to live in our world. Like this laptop and me, like that is my world. How important is it to put yourself out there to connect with people?
Very, very important. And when I was first breaking into, especially scripted, that was about 13, 14 years ago, there wasn't a lot of networking that was going on for Black writers, and even for women writers. And that's improved a lot. There was an organization called, it was like OBS, I think it was called, Organization of Black Screenwriters. And that was pretty much it. And I would go to those meetings and I was trying to network as best I could. But I'll tell you that those agency connections that I made, knowing all of those agents was very helpful, because when I was trying to make the transition out of unscripted into scripted, just going up to one of those people years after I'd left, I was at Triad Artists. They later merged with William Morris, which became Endeavor. Anyways, but after, just because I knew that particular agent, I was able to walk up to him at a conference, I think it was, and I said, hey, I've got a script now, and I really want to try to break into script. And he says, people don't really do that transition, and that's true. It's still true today. But he said, but I know somebody who represents both unscripted and scripted people, and you should meet him. And that man became my manager for many years. So those connections are everything. I actually have been so dedicated to trying to help that for about 4 years straight at UTA, I would gather 250 writers, producers, executives, lawyers of color, just so we could have a Christmas party and celebrate. And it, no, you know, I would get corporate sponsors. Nobody had to pay, just come out. And over those 4 years, if I tell you every other day I read somebody who's been to that party on deadline, and I'm thinking, yes.
That's
I don't
awesome.
know, right? I don't know what connection they made. Maybe they just found a date, but it doesn't matter. For 250 people for 4 years in a row, we were gathered. The only reason we didn't do it last year was because of the whole agency thing. We couldn't really, it was a bad look for us to have a party at an agency because we'd all fired our agents. But, and then this year, we've had major people wanting to do it again, but with COVID, we don't know when that's going to be possible. But it'll happen again.
So I want to shift gears a little bit to what you do now. Tell us what it means to embrace cultural specificity.
Oh boy, it's so important. Woo. For me, that is that level of authenticity that makes a piece really original. I think what's happened is we have like a whole generation that's been heavily influenced by a white male culture. That has been the dominant voice for so long. And now that there's actually, people are starting to really, really recognize the power of diverse audiences and what their desires and needs are, they have to give the writing more agency and more authenticity to reflect these different cultures now that love entertainment and have been, you know, have been accepting of white male entertainment for so long, but now they want something fresh. They've seen those stories. They want a fresh point of view. And that's what cultural authenticity really brings to it.
Do you think
I was just gonna say for us, for women of color especially, because I came up during that time where I had to know how to write white male voices. Trust me, I would not have written so many shows if I didn't know how to nail that voice. It just meant that I always had to go outside of who I was and do a deep dive and research into who they were and then interpret that. But that means I approach every character like that. I had to do research for Cookie. I'm not a drug dealer. I don't know what that is, what Cookie's life was. I've never been to prison. I have to do just as much work for her, even though, you know, she's got my skin tone.
Right.
But that's one thing that's really great, I think, about a lot of the Black writers out here especially, is we've always had to go outside of who we are to tell stories. So it's really cool on the one hand side that we have those tools. It's also cool that now we can combine those tools with our own life experience, which, you know, our cousins can't always do because they don't have that life experience.
I mean, I think that's absolutely a good point, and to the point of being a writer, right? Sometimes you are writing a character that you have no idea who they are. You just, okay, this is the person, but I have none of these life experiences, and you have to do that research. And I think that's one of like the cool and kind of interesting parts of being a writer is you get to delve into somebody else's brain to write it. But then you're like, hey, am I accepting a part of that person into me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You start to find the humanity too. Once you find the humanity in other people, you start to have a better understanding of who you are. Yeah. And that's a really important thing that writers have to be tapped into. So you have to have a high level of empathy, I think, to be a really great writer.
And it challenges your point of view a lot of times.
Oh yeah.
It like when you start to really research, it challenges your personal code. You're like, wait, I didn't know this was what? Huh? And then you do start to feel for people because you're just like, I didn't know this was really happening. And now that I do know, I need to do something or be something or write better about this certain aspect of society.
Do you feel that the mention of like YouTube and having Netflix as a big player and giving us international entertainment had a strong point in changing the perspective of stories in this country?
Yes, absolutely. Because the technology, oh boy, they're working on my roof. I mean, sorry, Zoom era, you know, but hopefully you can hear me. I'll move the microphone a little closer. the technology has broken down the distribution chain, right? And so for years, you had, in the same way, mostly white male voices who were able to get their stories told, you had mostly white males, you know, in charge of the distribution system. So even if we told our stories, they weren't getting out to the world. That doesn't exist anymore.
Right, because they weren't being greenlit.
Yeah, but we have the technology to capture our story, to post our story, to share our story. And that is completely tied to where we are right now as we're in this, you know, racist reckoning, you know, as we're starting to understand who we are. Would that have come without technology? I don't think so. Technology like broke down all the barriers that used to keep us from sharing our life experience, our concerns with the world. And on the most, you know, simple level, which is your, you know, your own personal social media, to your YouTube channel, to now being able to have so much interaction on your YouTube channel that places like the Netflixes and the Amazons, they can't ignore you. When you're gathering bigger audiences for your content than they can with this other content they've spent all this money on, you can't be ignored anymore. It's
now, okay, the real Hollywood business question.
That was really
yes.
This is why I love Korean soap operas, and that wouldn't have been without Netflix. I wouldn't have gotten it, and they were so good in addicting, and I'd be up like trying to drink coffee to continue to read the subtitles.
Yeah, I'm excited about that because, I mean, the American imperialism when it comes to culture has just been going on for a really long time, and it's stifled a lot of voices. And I think it makes us all better storytellers to just hear stories from other cultures. It's good for everybody.
I thought you were going to say yes and to tell us what Korean soap opera you fell in love with, because she was 15 years of your life.
You dedicate time for that.
You're like, I can't miss my Korean soap opera.
What
Anyway,
is there a title you want to share that I can share?
No, we're good.
Y'all just go on Netflix and look it up. Like seriously, okay. You will enjoy. You'll be why have I not read subtitles my whole life? I need to do this. What was wrong with my life?
Oh, I love it.
So my business question, and then it'll probably be like our next to last question. But my business question was: there is a large pie going to streaming networks. Therefore, networks are the regular networks are cutting back a bit. Is this killing the writer at all? Because I remember we were talking to someone who wrote Cheers, and they were talking about the checks were nice, and now they're like the checks are checks. So how are the writers surviving?
Wow, you know, we're working harder than ever, to be honest, because we've got to cobble together our income from multiple sources a lot of times. So in the past, yeah, you could write on that big beefy show. I mean, a perfect example in my career, and this has only been within the last 6 years, you know, Nashville, we made 22 episodes of Nashville a year. That's a lot for a broadcast show. And so, you know, the residuals on that and, you know, the all of that adds up and it becomes a really nice piece of income. Where now, and since that time, you know, a lot of places give you shorter orders. I mean, I went from Nashville, which was, you know, 22, to that first season of Empire was only 11. It was 11. That's like a pay cut because we get paid per episode. So that's a half slash almost, even though it was even a bigger show, you know? But that's the economics of what's going on. So we're getting shorter orders. That means we're writing less number of scripts. And so we get paid per episode produced. And so we're not producing as many episodes. So what that means is a lot of people try to, you know, do maybe more than one show a year, if you can. You know, if you got to do a shorter or 10 here, you do it 8 later in the year, and you're stacking up a lot of development because, you know, 1 in 10 pieces of development never makes it. So you got to have that next piece ready to go. It's just meant a lot more work for us. And it's really decimated the back end, just like you were saying with the person with Cheers, like, because a lot of times the streamers, they're buying you out of what the back end is when you make that deal. Mm-hmm. So you know, even these people, by the way, who are going out making, you know, multi-million-dollar deals, they're selling their back deal, their ownership in the back half. They're selling that away up to get the money up front. And if you come out, let's say I love this example. Somebody recently talked to me about this, of like James Brooks. If James Brooks had made The Simpsons, under a Netflix deal, he would have, what would he have gotten? Maybe, what is their biggest deal? $400 million? Well, The Simpsons is a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. Mm-hmm. So if you really make that home run jackpot show right now, you're not going to make as much money as you used to.
Okay, so the deal that our packager was talking about, we shouldn't even try to go for it. That's nice. Thank you.
No, it was just,
it's not likely to happen.
But thank you for coming on and sharing your experience. What shows can people check out from you, Wendy? And
where's your
website? And also, what one piece of advice would you give everyone out here that is listening now?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, again, Prodigal Son is a show I've been working on, and I'm very excited because it's a show with mostly brown cops in New York. And so we're really trying to look at law enforcement and what's going on in law enforcement and what it means to be a cop of color. So that I'm excited about, and hopefully that'll be coming on. It maybe as early as January, but sometime next year. We're about to go into production. Let's see, piece of advice. Oh, okay.
Especially since networking isn't really an option right now.
Right? It's true. My piece of advice, I think, would be to try to find that time every day to just be, to just, whether it's you're meditating or you're just being conscious about the quiet moments. Because I think right now there's just so much noise swirling around that it's hard to connect with your artistry and your soul. And so quiet moments, take a deep breath every day, count your blessings, and then try to start from a centered place. That's, I think, super important, because I think we often don't give enough credit to the mindset of the writer. That's what gives us the place to play. And when it's so jumbled as it has been, especially in the past 6 months, it's hard to find that focus. In terms of business and networking, Zoom. I've thrown some Zoom cocktail parties, enjoy that. This won't always be this way. It'll be different when it comes back, but it won't always be this way. So, get together with some people and just, have some times where you just talk with others who are doing what you're doing, and also with people who, you look up to and are mentors, and just sort of check in as much as you can with other people so you still feel connected. I think everybody's wanting some of that anyway, that feeling of being connected.
What's your website?
Oh, my website is wendicalhoun.net.
Thank you so much. Tanya, tell us your website quickly, please. Sorry.
www.mstanyatodd.com.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And we're going to just say that you can find out everything your ladies are doing on www.andwethought.com. Go to the ladies tab and check out the charities we proudly support. And remember that wisdom is all around you if
you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona
and Jade. Oh, yes. Thanks for listening.